So good afternoon. We're going to call this meeting of the TRPA Regional Planning Committee to order. The date is Wednesday, June 26, 2024. It is 4:17 p.m. The first item on the agenda is the roll call to determine quorum. Maria?
Ms. Aldine,
Here.
Ms. Gustafson,
Here.
Mr. Hennigan, Ms. Loomer,
Here.
Mr. Settlemeyer.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And I will go over the remote and in-person meeting rules for the day. Obviously, you know how to click on because you're watching us, so I won't go back over that. But when it is time for public comment, please raise your hand at the bottom of the screen at the appropriate agenda item. And with your hand raised, we will call on you. And to those of you in the public, just raise your hand and we'll call on you at the appropriate time on public comment. To the remote committee members, if you wish to speak, please signal me and or raise your hand in Zoom. We will find the hand icon at the bottom of your screen. And just a reminder not to use the chat box to make any comments or sidebar conversations. Finally, if you can, please turn on your camera if you're able. And so with that, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to our agenda for today, Mr. Hester?
No changes, Madam Chair.
Okay, then we will deem the agenda approved as posted. We'll move on now to item 2. This is approval of the minutes. We have a set of minutes from May 22nd, 2024 on page 69. Do any members of the committee wish to make any change? Shelley. Maria, I mean, this is 2 where I haven't seen any changes, so yay.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes from the Regional Planning Committee meeting of May 22nd, 2024 as presented.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone object? Okay, the motion passes. So we'll move on now to agenda item 3. This is an informational presentation discussion of proposed amendments to Douglas County's South Shore Area Plan to establish a new healthcare subdistrict, modify the Kingsbury Town Center, and incorporate signage regulations and an energy conservation strategy. Information on this item can be found on page 473 of your packet. As a reminder to the public, since this item is informational only, we'll hear any public comments at the final public comment agenda item. And I'll pass it on then to Jacob.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Jacob Stock. You all know me. I'm here to introduce an informational presentation on proposed amendments to the Douglas County South Shore Area Plan. This is my first time presenting this item. It probably won't be my last though, so hopefully I'll get better as we go. So this item is information only. You won't be asked to take any action or make a recommendation. You wouldn't be able to anyways. You don't have a quorum, so. Oh, now you do. Okay, well, anyways, it doesn't matter because it's information only. So we look forward to a good discussion though, and we expect that ultimately that discussion will make for a better proposal. That's why we do this. You'll first hear from Douglas County staff on the background of the area plan and the proposed amendments. The amendments include the addition of the Kingsbury Manor Mobile Home Park into the area plan and Lower Kingsbury Town Center. That parcel is currently split zoned. Part of it is within the area plan boundary and part of it's outside, and county staff will explain more about that. They include incorporating signage regulations into the area plan, including new standards for changeable signs in the casino core. And they include an energy conservation strategy. So the county's proposal also includes the creation of a healthcare subdistrict in the Kingsbury Commercial Town Center and the addition of additional height for hospital uses on the lake side of that new zone. So this is in anticipation of a potential Barton Hospital campus at the site of the former Lakeside Inn and Casino, across the street from Barton's existing State Line Clinic. So you'll also hear a short presentation from Barton Health staff about their vision for that site. But just a reminder that this item is focused on plan level amendments. You'll have plenty of opportunity to get into the weeds of the hospital project if and when that proposal comes forward. What you won't hear about today in these presentations are the amendments to the South Shore Area Plan to implement the Tahoe Living Phase 2 housing standards into that area plan. And TRPA staff will be working through a separate parallel hearing process to implement those amendments. So they're not part of this item, but we are working on implementing those standards in the South Shore Area Plan. I'll be here to answer questions for TRPA staff, and of course, county and Barton staff can also answer questions if you have anything for them. This proposal is scheduled for the County Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners in August. And if the schedule holds this item and this item is approved by the county, it will go to APC and RPC in September and Governing Board in October. So now that you've marked your calendars for that, I will pass it on to Kate from Douglas County.
Thank you, Jacob. For the record, Kate Morose O'Neill, Douglas County Community Development Planning Manager. So good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members and everyone in attendance today. So as Jacob mentioned, this is a brief presentation on the proposed amendments by Douglas County to the South Shore Area Plan. Several of these amendments have been in the works for many years, and the county was not able to follow through with those amendments and move them through the approval process. I've been working on this project personally for about 2 years. Actually, tomorrow is 2 years exactly that I started at Douglas County, and I literally was handed this project that first day. So to say the least, I am very excited to see these amendments proceeding forward through an approval process. Next slide, please. So let me start with the vicinity map of the South Shore Area Plan. So it encompasses properties such as Edgewood, the Casino Core, Kingsbury Town Center in the high density tourist district along Highway 50 from State Line to the lower Kingsbury area. And it does include various zoning, namely tourist, recreation, resort recreation, and mixed use. Next slide, please. So some background to the South Shore Area Plan. It was adopted in 2013 and is part of the TRPA regional plan. The South Shore Area Plan replaced the Kingsbury and State Line community plans and the relevant plan area statements at the time. These previous plans were over 20 years old and had undergone very minor changes. So in comparison, the South Shore Area Plan is a relatively new document, just over 10 years old at this point. Next slide. So the Douglas County proposed South Shore Area Amendment are as follows: to expand the Kingsbury Town Center to include the entirety of the Kingsbury Manor Mobile Home Park, to incorporate signage regulations, to create a new healthcare subdistrict, and incorporate an energy conservation strategy. Next slide, please. So regarding the boundary expansion amendment, so currently the mobile home park is dissected with one part, I believe it's 0.097 acres is in the commercial town center district, and the rest of the parcel is not. This is one parcel owned by one person, so these aren't individual mobile home owners. So bringing the entire parcel within the South Shore Area Plan and the town center boundary provides zoning consistency, and that's what we want to provide here. Next slide, please. And with that zoning consistency, you can see from this table the additional uses that would be allowed with this boundary expansion, some of which such as higher density multifamily and tourist accommodation uses. Next slide, please. So the sign standards, for some reason, and I wasn't here at the time, but they were admitted inadvertently with the original adoption of the South Shore Area Plan. So this amendment would incorporate the county sign standards. And in addition, this amendment would include a modification to code, allowing revolution for electronic messages from 4 cycles to 12 cycles an hour. And an example of like a positive take on this modification is, for example, more frequent directional information, let's say regarding parking availability and event information could be displayed much more frequently at 12 per hour versus only 4 times per hour. That's, every 15 minutes it would take before the sign would change. Next slide, please. The healthcare subdistrict proposed would be limited to, if you look at this map here, to the red boundary area shown in this map. So Barton Health, as Jacob mentioned, currently has facilities on the east side of Highway 50 and including a state-of-the-art hospital on the west side of 50 would expand the healthcare services footprint with leading technology and equipment. The proposed maximum height of 85 feet is limited to hospital use. So lot coverage versus height needs to be balanced to mitigate any environmental impacts. So to achieve sufficient square footage for hospital services and specialty care centers, such as a cancer center, the building's coverage across the lot must be balanced with its height. Also at the front of the parcel, and I think this is important to note, for the proposed side of the hospital along Highway 50, the building's height would be lower. So as the lope slopes down towards the rear of the parcel, the building would utilize a step-down design with a maximum height of 85 concentrated at that lower portion of the site. So only roughly 30% of the actual hospital would be at that maximum height of 85 feet. Next slide, please. This table also shows uses that would be allowed in the healthcare subdistrict, which would specify use of the area for existing and future healthcare uses and supporting services. So currently hospital use is actually an allowed use per a special use permit approval. Creating this healthcare subdistrict, however, would eliminate the need for a special use permit. Next slide, please. Lastly, the energy conservation strategy is actually an extension of what the county has already been doing in regards to energy conservation. Although this amendment had been previously adopted, the county is proposing to officially adopt the strategy into the South Shore Area Plan. In addition to what you can see here with this slide, the county has also upgraded county buildings by installing solar screens on windows and installing double glass windows, installed high efficiency HVAC system with Allerton control and monitoring system at the county courthouse here in Tahoe. And new high efficiency boilers have been installed in the Valley JLAC building, Valley Library, and at the Tahoe admin jail within the past 3 years. So this is just something we still feel is important to officially adopt into the South Shore Area Plan to continue our energy conservation strategies. Wow, next slide. So in conclusion, Douglas County believes that these amendments ensure conformance with the TRPA regional plan and accommodate and incentivize appropriate redevelopment within the plan area in accordance with the goals and policies of the regional plan. So I want to thank you again for your time today. And if you have any questions, I am happy to address those that I can. And again, like Jacob, you will see me many times in the coming months.
Thank you, Kate. I
You're welcome.
appreciate that. Jacob, did you have any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce Dr. Purvance from Barton Health, who's going to give you guys a brief overview of some of their ideas for what to do with that former Lakeside Inn and Casino site. But just remember, the item is focused on these area plan amendments.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, governing board members, committee members and staff, attendees in person and virtually. Appreciate the opportunity to get together to provide you with some information, which we think is very exciting for the community. We're here to serve a community. We're here to do that well. And the more engagement we have early on in the process, I think the better the project will be and the better the needs of the community will be met. So again, I appreciate the time to speak today. Barton Health has been here in the community serving the healthcare needs since 1963, so 60 plus years of service. We like to think of the healthcare system much like we think of the community. We're one community. It is a bi-state community. We have two main counties that we operate our businesses out of to support the community, but we're one health system. So we're one community, we're one health system. We know that many of our residents as well as the tourists don't see that state line. In fact, we travel across it many times a day. Barton, over the years, we've transformed the healthcare system as the needs in the community have changed and as opportunities have presented themselves. We've been focused on a dual campus for almost 2 decades, a little more than that now, where we can provide care close to home and convenient for the majority of our residents, both in California and in Nevada. Next slide, please. We know that in the region, there is a growing need for healthcare. In fact, if you looked at the demographics of our region, we know the population is aging. So those that moved here, like I did with a young family many years ago, we're all getting a little bit older and it's harder to keep our kids around, it seems. And so as we age, we know that the age 55 and older populations are the ones that are growing demographically, and they have different needs for healthcare. And we want to be able to accommodate those needs today and into the future. But the reason I'm really here is to talk to you about the why a hospital, why on this parcel. And so I want to bring you up to speed on some of the challenges that we have today. The biggest challenge that we have over the years is that we've added on to aging infrastructure, structures now that are 60 plus years old, and the infrastructure is failing. And so if you've had time to spend at our hospital, you'll know that we actually have 2 hospitals serving on our California campus. Those 2 hospitals are an acute care hospital, roughly 50 beds today that we provide that care out of, full services, a trauma center, ER, ICU, inpatient care, labor and delivery, OB services, and many primary and specialty care services to serve the community. There's also a long-term care hospital there, a 48-bed long-term care hospital, 4 of those beds being for skilled nursing patients. And we have residents of this community that live there and a waiting list to get into that facility and have for many, many years since we opened it. Unfortunately, as time goes on, aging infrastructure creates many challenges, and it creates challenges for us today in the operations that we have, and that we're constantly looking at how to better improve the facilities to take care of our patients, to make sure our community is safe, our employees are safe. At the same time, in California, there are seismic or earthquake mandates, laws that regulate acute care hospitals. That includes both our long-term care hospital and our acute care inpatient hospital. And those seismic requirements require certain standards to be met from a construction standpoint by 2030. That's the legislation today. We advocate, by the way, we're supportive of seismic regulations in hospitals and sound construction, but we advocate for a delay in those timelines because it's impacting not only our community, but many communities. In the studies that we've done of the facilities, we know that the facilities that are 50, 60 years old cannot be seismically retrofit. So there's nothing we can do to those to bring those up to standards. So in the current law, we would have to discontinue services at those sites, which would significantly impact the healthcare of this community, the level of service that we have, and would require a lot of transfers off the mountain for basic things that we are providing today. In our assessment of the California site, it's a built-out campus. Of course, the California site is in the back of a beautiful residential neighborhood along a great Barton Meadow, wonderful location. It's also a little bit more rural in location in our community versus some of the other sites that Barton operates and has services out of. As we've looked on that campus, it's not possible for us to efficiently replace the hospital on that campus. without demolishing old and then rebuilding. That creates a significant impact to services we offer today and into the future for the upwards period of time of about 5 years. We believe that community impact is very negative and at a cost that's not realistic. We do know that on greenfield construction sites like the Lakeside Inn and Casino site, which Barton acquired several years back, that building a state-of-the-art hospital from the ground up is not only more efficient, but we can also design things into the hospital that we don't have the ability to do today just based on size limitations and age of infrastructure. And so while we can recreate a state-of-the-art hospital with the right sizes of rooms for our ER patients to be cared for, the right sizes of OR space for the robotics programs that we have today, and expand spaces for patient care, we can also do it with a healing design, bringing in natural light elements. And we can actually locate that closer to where a lot of the population is either residing and or is visiting. And we're here to serve both the resident of the community and the tourist of the community. Next slide, please. We also prioritize as we look at facilities, how we're going to care for the whole community. We know that there are needs for aging populations, as I mentioned, but younger populations, families that are growing and developing, Medicare, Medi-Cal, Medicaid services are also incredibly important. And as we're committed today to dual campuses to provide that level of care, we'll be committed to the future as well to dual campuses, which means that while on our Nevada campus, what's being proposed in the new healthcare subdistrict in Nevada would be our acute care hospital, our trauma system, our inpatient beds, our emergency department, our ICU, labor and delivery. So those would move from California 6 miles down the road to Nevada. But we're committed to that California campus. Most of the volume we see in our health system is outpatient ambulatory, meaning that patients come in, they'll see a doctor's visit or other services at the hospital or the health system office offers that are actually outside of the hospital. 90% of our visits are outpatient ambulatory. California campus will still have a robust services in primary care, specialty care. We have good infrastructure there for the next 30 to 50 years around the 2-story structure that has housing or that has hospital in it today that could have more long-term care resident opportunities as an example. Our orthopedic and wellness center, which is only 10 years old, has great infrastructure and the clinics surrounding do as well. So we're committed to what we provide in California, close to the California residents, as well as bringing those services into Nevada. A new design also, as Kate mentioned, allows us to build other services. We have a growing need for oncology care, and we need to meet those needs today and into the future. Having a space for an oncology center up here is critical for the community's health, as well as more cardiovascular services, cardiovascular medicine being very important in the aging population. Next slide. And I know you're tired, so I'll pick up speed here. Next slide, please. There you go. This was just an overview slide so that you can see the geography of the existing healthcare campus that Barton has. We call this the mountainside of Highway 50, where we have urgent care, primary care, and specialty care offices today. The proposed side on highway across the street west of the existing campus is the land owned by Barton. Of course, to the north, it has the beautiful Rave Meadow, and to the south, the Edgewood Golf Course. Again, this is in that kind of old town center urban core area of the South Shore on the Nevada side. Next slide, please. When you look at the site and how it lays out from a proposed project, what we've tried to do is maintain the character of the neighborhood behind, which is residential on Laura Drive, just to the west of the proposed Barton Hospital building. We have entrances to the parcel for healthcare off of Kale Drive and Highway 50. You'll notice that the campus with the hospital is connected across the street with a sky bridge being proposed today, so that those who come for a service in one location don't have to get in their car, but could go across the street for other services if they were deemed necessary by the healthcare professionals caring for them. Again, on the mountainside, Barton owns land and buildings today and plans on expanding in services on that mountainside as we speak today. Next slide, please. This is just a closer view of that Barton Health hospital facility that would be there. The structure is a U-shaped structure with parking in the interior. Again, nicely landscaped, well-designed to interact with those that are walking or biking in the region. And again, next slide, this is really looked at to us as a gateway project And as a gateway project, as you come into the South Shore from the north at Kale Drive, we really want to conceal or hide some of that parking that's there and have a beautiful entrance to our community with a facility that makes sense not only for the community's care, but for the aesthetics and for the natural design and character of the lot and for the community. Height is obviously an issue that Kate brought up in our review of this parcel as well as the project. We need a certain amount of square feet to have all of the services under one roof and located in one parcel and location. We've accommodated for height by stepping it up from Highway 50 so that it's not a large structure on Highway 50, so that we don't have the scenic impacts that many are concerned about. We are as well. Next slide, please. And in fact, we also think that there are many environmental benefits associated with this project. Obviously, modern construction and newer facilities mean a lot for energy efficiency. But we know that there's going to be improvements just in the water issues that were on site, from stormwater improvements tying into the Kale Drive regional stormwater project and treatment area as well. And then we also know that by taking out a hotel and casino use, which has a lot of daily trips and a lot more overnight stays than our hospital has, we'll actually see a significant reduction in vehicle miles traveled on a daily and an annual basis as well on average. And we think those are great improvements for this parcel overall. Next slide, please. We wanted to include some just conceptual designs of what this new proposed hospital could look like. And obviously going with the mountain design and theme with a lot of windows. Windows are necessary for light. Light's important for healing. And the healing design is critical for our patients. Notice also, again, a lot of the greenscapes that are being created, walking paths, meeting areas for the community. In fact, that building on that's closest to Kale Drive on the right has a cafe and a meeting area for the community. Of course, the trailhead being right across the street there. Again, trying to conceal with landscaping the parking, and there is another parking deck that's below that's being proposed as well. Next slide. If you looked off of Highway 50, this just shows the proposed sky bridge to connect the two campuses. This would be a 24/7 open sky bridge that's handicap accessible, allows patients and our team members to go back and forth safely across that 5-lane Highway 50. Again, from an entrance standpoint, you'll notice that the buildings step up into the back. And next slide. And from the back side, where the lot drops off the most, just from its natural contours, is where the majority of the mass of the building is located. It's 5 stories that you can see from the back there, 85 feet. Healthcare has greater height requirements between each floor due to all the mechanical and structural systems that we have within the facilities. All of these windows that are facing southwest, again, are there for the full purpose of natural light, healing design, and our patient care areas. We've also, just as note, tried to landscape beautifully in the back, maintain the character, as I mentioned, of the roadway, which is residential, as well as allow for great connections through in our parcel to the north and the south for those that are active on the bike paths and the walking paths as well. And last slide. I thank you at 4:50 in the afternoon for taking the time to look at some great photos here. And I look forward to your questions. This again is just one opportunity to see what a new hospital could look like in its design. We have very good facilities today. They're sound, they're safe. I don't want anybody to feel like they're not safe. They are, but they are old and they need to be replaced. And there's not a week that goes by at Barton that one of our team members, nurses, staff members, pharmacists tells me we're out of space. And wouldn't it be nice if we could do this, that, or the other, which we just don't have the space for? And I agree with them. So I think this is a project that will be here for the community service and use for decades to come. It's an amazing opportunity for the community to embrace a change in healthcare and its location, but again, a dual campus model, which is really here to serve the needs of our residents and our tourists alike. Last slide. Again, our focus is on our one community. It's the community we serve and live in. We are one health system working out of dual campuses today and into the future. Be happy to address any questions you may have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Yes,
Mhm.
Ms. Aldean.
Are you planning on integrating employee housing of any type into this new campus?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are looking at workforce housing options. In order to get all of the clinical structures onto this parcel, however, it would not be on this parcel. And we think this parcel in its location with tie-ins to the community's transportation system, it would be better to locate workforce housing at different sites. Spartan owns many properties in the basin and some out of the basin, and some of our workforce lives out of the basin. And so right now we are engaged in workforce housing planning for the future as well. But other than the stays that need to occur for patients, and then some of the staff that also stay overnight on site, those are what is planned in the proposed project.
So as you probably know, one of our objectives is to reduce VMT from outside the basin. I mean, is it likely that you'll be able to, on your existing in-basin properties, accommodate most of your employees, or is that an unrealistic expectation?
That's unrealistic. I mean, today, a third of our workforce, and I think a lot of the workforce of Lake Tahoe comes from the valley. And so to build workforce housing for all those that come into the basin, I think is a big challenge for this community. But however, reducing the amount of vehicles that come up and what can we do for rideshare for our valley folks that come up to work in the health system today is being looked at. And then for those that can stay up here, obviously, what can we do to help find more workforce housing on some of our own properties? And some of those will be in California for us. And then again, figuring out transportation across that 6 mile difference between campuses is important for us from a rideshare standpoint.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Loomer, do you have any questions?
So I'm guessing Nevada does not have the same seismic regulations that California does.
That is correct.
Would you are you considering building it, since you're starting from scratch, building it to those standards anyway, just to be on the safe side?
Yeah, absolutely. If we were to build in California or Nevada, the standards wouldn't change for us on how we would construct the facilities today. They only apply to acute care hospitals, but we plan on meeting all the regulations and codes for building. Absolutely. That's a great question. We get asked that quite frequently. We are not building a less safe hospital in Nevada. You know, in fact, I think from a community standpoint, so from infrastructure standpoint, you know, absolutely safe structures, but from a community health standpoint, we'll be able to do so much more in a new facility for the health of our patients and the care of our patients. Right now, Barton is listed as one of the world's top hospitals, which is amazing for a community hospital in a town our size. We believe we can add to what we do today. We're not a perfect system, but we can add to what we can do from a healthcare delivery standpoint in new facilities and impact, and from a positive standpoint, that quality of care and safe care as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions, but if you guys
Yes,
wanna-
no, go ahead.
So, and this might be for any one of you, but looking at the picture of what the land is now and what the vision is for the layout of the hospital, it looks like there might be more impervious surfaces. Like, I mean, there's a lot of green space. Like, how is that? It's hard for me to just tell, like, I've been there, but I can't really, picture the state of the land in terms of like, is it all paved?
Yeah, sure. So the land was highly developed in the past with the lakeside and a casino, and the site was largely disturbed from its natural state when we acquired the property. If you drive by the property today, those improvements are being removed, and the land is being restored to its natural state. Again, in building a project from ground up, we do believe that there'll be significant improvements to the environment there. As we look at stormwater drainage and treatment on site, which is necessary and would be an improvement from what was there previously. We're also aware that there's a high water table, obviously, and we've had 2 really large winters. And so to the best of our abilities, designing to stay out of that water table, which is another reason why we've looked at locating the project on the parcel in the way we have, as well as the 85-foot height in net, which will be necessary not to dig low and then accommodate the clinical services necessary on site.
Great. And is there any concerns about flooding or groundwater intrusion? Has there been an analysis done about any threats?
Yeah, so in the work that we've done, and there's high groundwater there, and so the deeper you dig, the greater the intrusion and the greater the risk of flooding on that site. However, the engineered plans designs that we're looking at today, if there was interruption of groundwater due to a high winter, which again, we're trying to design out of that area, the design would allow for that interception to occur and be appropriately treated as well.
Ms. Aldine,
Uh,
and then I want to get to Director Settlemeyer
sure.
as well. So-
Any remediation required on site from former uses?
In our discussion, not that we're aware of, but that would be our answer today. Yeah, thank you. So we have been monitoring the ground and groundwater contaminants since Barton purchased the parcel. And there is no remediation that's been recommended from the state engineers that have done the analysis on site. But there is ongoing monitoring that we anticipate will end before the start of this project.
So
Thank
there are
you.
no PCPs.
That was the Lakeside Inn and Casino had previously a dry cleaning facility in it.
Right.
And in monitoring around that site prior to the purchase, we did determine that there was some PCE. That PCE was a small area of contaminant. As it was assessed through the state of Nevada, it did not require mediation. It's been monitored from a plume standpoint. Their recommendation was just additional monitoring at this point, but no remediation of that location.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Director Settlemeyer, do you have any questions or comments at this point?
Thank you, Chair Gustafson. So in listening to the analysis, it seems like the amount of traffic VMTs will not be significantly increased or, decreased based upon the information we've given. If you could expand on that a little bit. You mentioned that most people are outpatients, so the California side will still have the ability for individuals to come over, but they'll be able to have a state-of-the-art hospital. How many people come from the state line gaming corridor? No offense, accidents happen on the ski slope right there. How many of them are tourists that are actually coming to your hospital versus California versus Nevada residents?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. As we've looked at the data just around the community and where individuals are coming from, first of all, I mentioned we're here to care for our residents and our tourists. Our inpatient hospital has roughly a 70-30 mix. 70% of our inpatients are residents and 30% are tourists or from out of the basin. They don't live here. It's not their primary home. And our ER has statistics that are a little bit greater than that. We see a larger tourist population in our ER. And if you were to look at ambulance traffic in the basin, there are a fair number of runs that are between this project location and the Al Tahoe region. In fact, that's probably the highest run volume in town. And a lot of that volume, coming from the casino corridor now travels, down Highway 50 into our residential neighborhood location where our campus is for our hospital today. So we do believe that for some that are receiving care, and that's probably a high volume of the calls that EMS receives will be closer to this facility. We also know that from an outlying facility standpoint, or outside of this urban core area, we know that EMS has located their services, their first responder services, very wisely according to where the residents live. Their ability to respond to patients' need from a 911 standpoint is not impacted. We believe their ability then to transport patients throughout the community to a new facility is not going to change the outcomes in healthcare. And we believe that as we work with them very well today, we'll continue to work with them on patient transport, regardless of what side of the state line and the distance that they're driving into our facilities.
I appreciate that information. I've been a customer of yours, not willingly, but just because you're the closest hospital. Did one surgery for a shoulder, and another time I went there for again a shoulder related thing. And unfortunately, the wait time was a little bit excessive, and I actually made it down to Douglas County portion in Minden Gardnerville to that hospital quicker than you were able to admit. With the new hospital, will you be able to attract potentially new personnel and potentially, I know several of my friends that are medical, they prefer to try to go to hospitals a little bit newer versus ones that are, i.e. 60 years old. Do you feel that you'll be able to attract more personnel and potentially serve the public a little bit, I'll say it, faster?
Yeah, so number one, I want to apologize for your wait time in our ER. Our ER is 30+ years old and it's undersized. We recognize that. And we do get a fair amount of volume especially in the wintertime and ambulance traffic as well. And so while we triage, we're very much looking forward to expanding the ER space so that we can fast track patients that can be easily seen and discharged, as well as additional space to bring patients right back for care in the new model and the design. We do believe that some people seek other services because of the age, as well as the lack of ability to bring on new programs such as oncology services into the community, which require more space than what we currently have. So we do believe that this would help some of that out-migration. Of course, we want to do it in beautiful facilities and with excellence and keep the patient population here that we can keep here safely. Newer facilities will allow for us to do that, expand the care for the community, keep our local residents local, the tourists local as well. And that's our overall goal.
Thank you kindly for the presentation, and thank you, Chair Gustafson, for the ability to ask those questions.
With that, did you have another question?
One more, and I promise this is my final question.
Yes.
It's been suggested that the hospital is currently located in South Lake Tahoe. It is more convenient for the certain populations, certain underserved populations. So many of those people may not have automobiles. You kind of alluded to the fact when you're talking about how are you going to get personnel that work at the hospital to the hospital without generating too much additional VMT. But are you also considering some sort of transit? I mean, we have transit, but the wait times I think are probably maybe excessive in an emergency situation. So for those people who are without automobiles, who have traditionally relied on the services provided at your South Lake Tahoe location, is there a way for you to expedite their transport to the new location in Douglas?
Thank you. That's a great question. And we are in fact looking at that, because what we do recognize is that there is a larger portion of underserved patients that live in the communities closer to the proposed Nevada hospital actually than the
Really?
existing California hospital. In fact, there are free transportation options. They do take time to get to the state line campus that don't exist for our California campus today, just based on population demographics. And so that's problematic. We want to help from an equity standpoint solve that. We're very engaged in the transportation discussion. Barton has team members that are on the transit board trying to find solutions and be a source of not only information, but data and support for system-wide improvements to transportation. We think that those are necessary. And we do think that a hospital campus closer to the state line actually solves some of those issues, creates some for some of the outlying areas, but solves it for some of those who are not accessing healthcare today that are closer to this urban corridor region. And just my last comment is from a 911 standpoint, again, if anybody needs services and they're uncertain and they can't get their 911 is a great option, especially if they believe that that is an emergent need. And again, with the collaboration and coordination that happens with the existing EMS agencies, they do a fantastic job on getting those patients to where they need to go. And we're going to continue to work with those individuals so that those agencies, so that that does not change for this community.
Fortunately, traveling by an ambulance can be extremely costly. So I
It
suspect
can.
that a lot of your patients among those underserved populations, would prefer to take their own automobile if they have one to get to where they need to go. So I appreciate the fact that you are actively engaged with other players in the region on how to solve some of our transportation issues.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions at this point. I'm sure I will after we hear from the public. So
Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you. Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Sorry. The town center boundary expansion, it seems to me that the Kingsbury Manor Mobile Home Park there's more synergism with the Ponderosa Mobile Home Park than there is incorporating it into this new district. Can you explain the rationale for kind of, I understand separate ownership, separate parks, but it's a common use. And there are some people who think it's a prerequisite to doing away with that affordable housing. So could you address that?
Yes, absolutely. So it actually it's not separate ownership. It is one ownership of the parcel. So you can see there's that little sliver that is currently in the town center.
Right.
And if you look on the table, and I know it's, can you by chance bring up that slide from the PowerPoint? I don't know if that's possible, but so, and I know that is a concern. People, I've been asked, well, what if the owner decides to put a high end? Well, that's would also be a good site for affordable housing. So the ability to have a higher density multifamily is also an option, or nothing happens. We're not eliminating the ability to just remain and retain the mobile home park. So it's just a consistency in the zoning. Right now, it's a split parcel with the same owner. And again, this is one of those amendments that's been talked about and discussed for years. And with the owner, years ago, I wasn't here at that time. But that's where this is driven from, is just to create that consistency in zoning. And allow for actually, some other opportunities for redevelopment in the future if it was to come to that.
Right, and I suspect, Kate, that's the concern, because they're, obviously we're struggling to provide people with affordable housing options, and, but I think, as I recall, the law is that they have to be relocated to, a comparable development but it's within 50 miles, I think. Which is quite a distance away. So, okay, so I'm not going to ask you what the owner's motivations might be. That's not appropriate for you to speculate, but thank you.
You're welcome. And I don't know, that is not a conversation. Again, this is an amendment that was proposed years ago that we're just trying to follow through those amendments that we've attempted to bring forward. And again, it's more just consistency within the district, making sure that it's all within the town boundary and the South Shore area plan. Again, it's not the intent of the county or anything to propel the owner to do anything other than in the future, if there was redevelopment. You could be talking 30, 40 years from now even, but it's just the consistency in the zoning and allowing for other housing opportunities.
This is an owner initiative, right? No, this is the
No.
county initiative. Okay.
Yes.
I would just add briefly, TRPA staff are still reviewing this proposal. We haven't made a recommendation on this particular proposal yet, but we are looking at, as part of our review, we're looking at different development scenarios. And we have existing protections for affordable housing. And there's also incentives for affordable housing within town centers. So we're looking at those to determine, what the potential impact of this rezoning could be on housing affordability in that area.
Okay. Are there any other questions from board members? If not, I'd like to go to public comment on this item and provide you with an opportunity to address the committee on any items. Or I guess I don't need to go to public comment. Is that right? We just do it at the very end? Okay. So one last shot for the board members to ask any questions. Not seeing any? Great. Well, thank you very much for the presentation, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. It looks like you have at least 5 or 6 more meetings.
Hopefully it'll be done before my next anniversary. That's all I ask.
We hope so.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, I'll go back to item 4 on our agenda, upcoming topics. John?
You have in August and September respectively, a group of amendments from the city of South Lake Tahoe scheduled. And then this amendment package that Ms. Morales just presented to you, as well as the amendments to bring phase two housing, make phase two housing applicable in Douglas County. That's it.
Thank you, John. Are there any comments or questions from the board members on that? Or from the committee members? Sorry. Switch my hat from board chair to committee chair. Okay, then we'd move on to agenda item 5, committee member comments. Are there any committee member comments in general? Then we'll
Chair
go to,
Gustafson,
yes,
this is Director Settlemyer. I wanted to thank you for your dedication to the TRPA, for staying around to be the chair of this subcommittee, considering that the chair and myself as the vice chair unfortunately had to be in different locations. So thank you.
oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Director Settlemyer. Happy to do it, but you'll owe me one. Yes, I will collect. We'll move into public interest comments. This is a general public interest comment period. Any member of the public wishing to address the Regional Planning Committee on any item listed or not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. If you're here in the room, please come to the podium. And if you're online, please raise your hand and we'll call on you at the appropriate time. Good afternoon, or almost, I guess I can say good evening now.
Thank you. Good evening. Ellie Waller, first shot over the bow, sins of omission. After all, it's what's not being said. It's the devil in the details. Surprisingly, driving by today, getting here, there is work going on that site. Demolition is done, no remediation. What type of permit is in play? Of course, many of these changes, I believe, in the South Shore Area Plan are for the Barton Hospital and its facilities. Lots of explanation to the public in general is necessary on policy versus action needed, the way these things are stated in the area plan. South Shore Policy 8.1, encourage Barton Hospital System to prepare a facilities plan. It goes on. I think it must be done before the hospital comes to play. South Shore Policy 8.3, provide flexibility for Barton Healthcare System to engage in public-private ventures upon adoption of that facilities plan. It further goes into how TRPA has transition of development rights like commercial floor area. Alphabet soup's in here. South Shore Policy 8.4, redevelopment in the healthcare sub-district supports community wellness improvement, safety of non-motorists, which would include transforming the area into a pedestrian friendly and mixed use environment. I don't know what that's talking about. Is this about the Main Street Management Plan? Some of the, what I call stale 2011 South Shore Vision Plan generated for the South Shore Alliance of Resorts? Douglas County has a resolution to maintain Highway 50 at 4 lanes. Will this, or is this attempt to try to supersede that? South Shore Action Plan, Action 8.3. Douglas County will work with TTD and Barton to expand transit services for the Barton facilities in California. Why would we just do it for the Barton facilities since we are looking at VMT coming directly into this area? Even more complex is TRPA will include the Tahoe Living Working Group Phase 1 and Phase 2 affordable housing requirements. Most township people don't even know what this is. Most of the public didn't start participating until late, maybe 2021 or 22. I think this really needs to be vetted with the public. What is Douglas County buying into here? What funding will be required and when? And really, who wrote these amendments from a perspective of a person that went through the Placer County area plan as a community member that was engaged? And I don't think there is enough public participation. South Shore Action Plan 5.2, Douglas County shall participate with TMPO, TTD, Federal Highway Administration, NDOT, City of South Lake Tahoe in the planning and implementation of the South Shore Community Revitalization Project called the Loop Road. What is the current status of the Loop Road? Is it being amended? Is it being revised? I turned in a 52-page comment letter to the town hall. That's getting revised and updated. I need to add more of the policy information. I will be before you quite a bit with lots of information. I personally think this is being fast-tracked. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Can we make sure we have the timer going?
My apologies.
Yeah, no problem. I was doing mine as well, so I was like, why am I chiming? Usually it's behind yours. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Green button. I'm excited to get to be one of the first public voices to speak. Hopefully many public voices to come over the past several months and before your next anniversary. And I hope my enthusiasm is reflective of future comments. I'm a resident of Myers and an employee right here across the street off of Shady Lane. And so I get to participate in both campuses. I've had several surgeries and procedures done at each of them, and I'm encouraged by Dr. Purvance and Barton's team's vision. With two daughters who competitively snowboarded, we were at the emergency room off Barton off of 3rd Street more than I or my bank account would have liked. There were times when injuries necessitated ambulance rides down the hill, and I appreciate the comments about the cost of ambulance rides. I got to experience that firsthand. Fortunately, never a CalStar flight, but I optimistically look forward to elevating the care that is offered in our area. Walking across the street on Lower Kingsbury, my coworkers and I frequently use the urgent care facility at the bottom of the hill. It's always been easy to get in and out, but lately it's clear that the popularity and usage of this hidden secret has been impacted and is definitely due to grow. Similarly, I saw my primary care physician last week off of 4th Street, and in 13 years, I'd never seen the waiting room as busy as it was. As our community residents age and shift, and I appreciate there's the comment that it's continuing to grow and it's not that same 20, 30-year-old population that we had for so long. The need for healthcare to shift and grow is evident, and I'm proud of Barton for working towards growth and improvement rather than working to just maintain the status quo. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else here in the room who would like to provide public comment? If I could encourage you to go ahead and queue up so we can get through them, that'd be great. Go ahead. Oh, I was talking about and there's other people who may want to speak, and I just want to keep moving. Thank you. It almost was. There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
My name is Dorothy Dean, and I have worked as a ER nurse at Barton off and on now for 20 years. I did want to first make a rebuttal to Dr. Purvance's comments in that I don't feel that brake lights are healing light. And my greatest fear about moving this hospital is increased length of transport time for critically injured people. This is a level 3 trauma center. And one of the first things you learn about trauma is that there's a golden hour of trauma where you have the opportunity to save the patient. Anybody that's traveled through the casino corridor on today, not just any summer weekend or any holiday, but today, can see that transport times are going to be impacted for the population center of the South Shore, which is obviously on the California side. They will be impacted. And so I did write some notes. That was impromptu. I did write some notes that I wanted to make a mention of. Sorry, I have to sign into my phone. I'm not a slick speaker. An updated hospital is just a building blocking a beautiful view if the injured and ill can't get to the hospital quickly enough for life-saving treatment. If you can't retain experienced local nurses and other healthcare professionals to provide care, or if medical care becomes financially prohibitive for the majority of the community the hospital is supposed to serve. The hospital moving to Nevada is a logistical change, but not just a logistical change. The hospital is moving further from the population center of the community that Barton was created to serve and is placing a physical obstacle of an often bottlenecked and time-consuming drive in the way of people that may need the most rapid medical response that we can give them. Some will be closer, most will be further. That is not good when every second counts. I also wanted to say that also of primary concern to me is that as I'm a member of the nurses union, Dr. Purvance did mention the many awards for superior care that Barton has earned in the last few years. We see the billboards trumpeting these awards, which I'm proud of. And I'm proud of them because Barton began receiving those awards for nursing care after the nurses unionized. At the bargaining table, I have asked Barton's representatives to maintain California's safe staffing laws in the new hospital in the Nevada side, only to be flatly rejected twice. Barton did not follow California's safe staffing laws for the first 13 years after those were enacted, but miraculously, when we unionized and Barton decided to start complying with those laws, then Barton started earning these awards. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Barton's flat refusal to even consider following these same staffing ratios on the other side of the state line is deeply concerning to me. Dr. Purvance had mentioned that, and I think you had asked that if I'm sorry, I'm out of time.
Thank you for your comments. Your written comments will be accepted at any point in our process. Thank you. Yes, good afternoon,
Hi,
sir.
Madam Chair, members of the Planning Committee, directors. My name is Scott Morgan. I'm the Assistant County Manager for Douglas County, and I am here to speak on the relocation of Barton into Douglas County at the old Lakeside property. I first want to state that Douglas County Board of Commissioners have not officially taken a position on this and may at some future point in time. I am strictly speaking as a staff member of the county manager's office and wanted to state that we are very much in support of the continuing of this process and supportive of continuing to look at this as a very viable location and site for the Barton Hospital facility. We see many, many advantages for our many employees. And it was mentioned previously that a third of them live outside of the basin, that no longer will have to thunder through downtown South Lake Tahoe, all the way to the Y or near the Y to participate in their employment. We see it as a great opportunity for economic diversity in our community in Douglas County. We see it as a development of our workforce and have very many positive influences in Douglas County. We also would like to point that we are a major neighbor of this facility with Kale Park. And if anybody is affected by a view, it would be Douglas County. And we are supportive of this location, and we are supportive of this structure, and we are supportive of the height restrictions or requirements that are needed to construct this facility. We also think the location just has so many possibilities. Right next to Kale Park, really, even though it's 20 years old, still a state-of-the-art community and recreation center next to Rabe Meadow, a U.S. Forest Service positive recreation amenity, Edgewood Golf Course, part of the beginning of the state line to state line bike path that will someday go all the way around the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe, and just has so many unique opportunities to combine healthcare, medical facilities, recreation opportunities, jobs, employment. There are a lot more workforce development opportunities in Douglas County at this location that we are continuing to support its further research and discovery as we move forward the process. I also want to point out that it seems like as we have kind of looked at this and put our heads together and said, you know, if this is a tear down of an existing facility and multiple years waiting to rebuild, that relocating the hospital is a great idea why that tear down takes place. And just looking over the many possibilities of other locations and then going, wait, there just aren't any. This is a gift, and a gift that needs to be further explored. And we continue to encourage your support as Douglas County is supporting this facility location. and the planning process that it goes through. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Janae Norris. I live on Lower Kingsbury. I'm a small business owner and I'm also on the Tahoe Chamber board. And he said a lot of what I was going to say about the Kale community area and that picture that was put up, I think, in Dr. Pravance's presentation that shows the hospital and Kale Community Center and then the public services. And it just made me smile. Living on Lower Kingsbury, I commute by bicycle a lot and I'm just super excited for Barton to potentially put in some sidewalks. That would be nice to see. But beyond that, I think the proposed expansion offers a transformative solution, which brings state-of-the-art hospital to and a comprehensive range of services directly to us, particularly being that I'm in state line and the majority of services are on the other side of town. It's really fun from where I live. But connecting across both states and being able to expand healthcare and wellness for our entire community is super beneficial. And bringing a modern hospital into the area and high quality care becoming more readily available makes so much sense. The new building and the location creates opportunities for new services and hopefully improved treatments, as well as a safer building in which to provide them. And being near the casino corridor, well, by the way, I do commute by bicycle and luckily I'm still alive, but if something were to happen, I'd be happy to have that service more readily available. And again, visibility to the visitors so that they see and know that we have these services available and close by. And so I think it's truly an investment in the area, improving the future for both states. And of course, that dual campus idea of having connections on both sides so that everyone can have access. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to make a public comment? Okay, then we'll go online. Please raise your hand if you're on Zoom. We'll call on you.
Madam Chair, I have one hand raised online so far. It's actually a phone caller. If your phone number ends in 0508, I believe you need to dial *6 to unmute yourself to make your comment.
I believe it's star nine. Oh.
Doug Flaherty, TahoeCleanAir.org. So yeah, I heard the administrators say that they're out of room. The community's out of room when it comes to wildfire evacuation. No one's against increasing healthcare, so don't brand the community as against healthcare. You guys need to do it right. This is going to require an environmental impact statement on the part of Barton, the owners of the property. It's not an exempt facility or an exempt use. Don't do an environmental assessment. You're only going to cause a lawsuit when you do that. But a lot of things have changed recently that will justify an EIS or an EIR. One of them is the fact that Douglas County has just designated Highway 50 as an evacuation corridor. If you look at where the proposed project rests, it is going to be a nightmare to evacuate the hospital. Some of you may believe, oh, we'll use the hospital as a shelter-in-place facility. Not true. If you look into major hospital locations across Northern California during the wildfires and smoke, they had to evacuate those facilities. It was a nightmare on staff and patients. It's an impossible task right there. There's been a lot of cumulative projects that have taken place since 2012, the regional plan. So please don't try to shove a sham TRPA environmental checklist or an EA down the public's throat. We need a roadway by roadway wildfire capacity evacuation assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Are there any other callers online?
Madam Chair, there are no other hands raised to comment.
Thank you. Then we'll close the public comment and thank you all for participating today. This is the first, as you heard, of a number of meetings. You'll have other opportunities to speak to us or submit your comments. And with that, I'd ask, is there a motion to adjourn our committee?
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all.
Josh, you can end the recording now.